All right, next up, we have a panel of manga experts for you. We have a big panel of experts in this field. I'm not sure if they're going to give you a great presentation that's going to include a lot of information, but I'm not sure if there's going to be time for Q&A at the end or not, but please feel free to put your questions in the chat. If we don't get to them now, we can get to them after. But in the meantime, we told them to answer as many questions as possible because then we don't have to answer them. And then again, like we said, in the resource hub, there's lots of collection lists for manga titles for your shelves. So while we're getting everybody on stage, I am going to introduce the moderator of this panel, Ben Applegate. He is the Director of Publisher Services for the Kodansha Print Manga Program. He is the person I ask all of my manga questions to, and I am hoping that he will be able to answer yours today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. This is a great honor to be here and speak with all of you. And I don't know how we're going to follow Pierce Brown. I'm a huge fan of Red Rising, but I will follow up on something he said about librarians being the most supportive people. I mean, the same is true for manga. I think in all along, librarians have been the #1 promoters and supporters of manga for all readers of all ages. And so we're very excited to be here to talk about it with you. And like Kelly said, please do throw your questions into the chat and we'll do our best to get to them. I think we're going to have to go even faster than we thought we would. So please pardon our speed if we speed through some of these slides before you have a chance to look at them. I think we will be sending out this presentation afterwards as a PDF, so don't worry, you'll have plenty of time to review it at your leisure. But I want to jump straight in and start by introducing my fellow panelists who are here in alphabetical order. TJ, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. My name is TJ Ferrantini. My pronouns are they, them, or he, him. And I'm an editor at Kodansha Comics. And several titles that I've edited include the Attack on Titan Omnibus Edition, Chobit's 20th Anniversary Edition, Boys Run the Riot, and My Summer Review, amongst others. And great to be here today.
Thank you for joining us. Carl, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. My name is Carl Horn. I'm a senior editor here, specializing in Japanese books, manga, and art books at Dark Horse Comics. Some of the titles I've edited are Satoshi Kon's Opus, the Kurosaki Corpse Delivery Service, Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, and I'm very excited to have the chance to participate in today's event.
Thank you. Vanessa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vanessa Tenazis. I am the Associate Director of Editorial for Kodansha Comics. Some of the titles that I've edited in the past have been Sailor Moon and Worokoi Love is Hard for Otaku. And I'm very excited to be here with you all today. Thank you.
And joining us all the way from Taiwan, we've got Andrew and Christopher.
Hi, folks. I'm Andrew Woodrow Butcher. I'm a recent addition to the Kodansha team, helping out with some marketing to exactly you, helping them connect with librarians and educators. And I've come into this role with a background in kind of exactly that. I've spent a career talking about books with librarians, mostly comics and manga. So that's why I'm here today. It's great to be here. Thanks.
I'm Christopher. I've been working in and around the manga industry for a little while now, and currently running a podcast about manga in addition to working on the library marketing with Kodansha, a new initiative where we're going to be reaching out more to public librarians, school librarians, and special collections librarians to help make it easier for you to stock manga, to know what to get and why. Happy to be here.
And thank you. I know that's a 12-hour time difference in where you are, so thanks for staying up late with us. And thank you to Carl and to so many of you for getting up early with us today. We wanted to start the presentation by talking about some overall trends in the manga market in 2023. These aren't necessarily, this is not an exhaustive list, but we just picked 3 things that we felt it was important to call out. first of all, and the one that I'm sure a lot of you have been talking with your patrons about, is the broadening of the category. Vanessa, do you want to talk us through this part?
Sure. So manga as a term and as a category has always referred to in the past, specifically comics originating from Japan. But in recent years, the non-Western graphic novel / comic category has rapidly expanded to include other territories putting out content. So for example, on this slide, we're looking at a web comic originally created for vertical scrolling on your phone. That originated from Korea and has since been licensed into Japan and also in the United States. And these kinds of platforms have just made it a lot more accessible to Western audiences to view and enjoy non-Western content. And that's been like a nice entry point for people into manga and other similar categories. And then in addition to different territories publishing content, we also have different types of authors publishing this kind of content. So featured on this slide, we have Kingdom of Quartz on the bottom left there, which is actually a Canadian author publishing a Japanese manga in Japan. And then we also have on the top right corner there, work by a Nigerian author. And then Beyond the Clouds there on the bottom is actually work by a French author being published in Japanese. So really, manga is not just Japanese comics anymore by Japanese authors. Like we're really seeing like a big expansion in the market in terms of, origin countries, and then also different types of authors getting into the space as well. So lots of different experiences to be had and enjoyed by readers.
And the other angle on the broadening of the category, of course, beyond origin is genre, and in particular, LGBTQIA plus manga has never been broader in its availability in English. TJ, do you want to take us through a little bit about that? And Christopher, I think, as well.
Yeah, sure. So not only has manga itself really been booming in recent years, but especially LGBTQ plus manga. And this really started several years ago and started gaining popularity with a lot of the single volume, more memoir type manga, such as the My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness series by Nagata Kabi. But now this is really expanding towards across all other genres, and we're seeing a lot more BL, so boys love manga, Yuri, which is girls love manga, and in general, a lot of manga with like LGBTQ plus characters such as transgender or intersex characters. And this has also been really exciting in recent years because, for example, with titles such as Boys Run the Riot or Is Love the Answer, those visuals of like queerness are brought to the forefront and can really easily be seen by readers in the covers, such as the asexual flag representation on Is Love the Answer, or Boys Run the Riot, which was not only written by a transgender manga artist and features a transgender main character, but was also completely localized by an all transgender localization team. And now it especially with, banned books being, an issue across the United States, with LGBTQ plus youth being targeted, it's definitely more important than ever that LGBTQIA, kids and library patrons have access to these kinds of books. And Christopher, I don't know if you would like to speak more to that.
It's really important, yeah, to have that kind of material in libraries. It was the kind of thing that saved me growing up, actually, having access to libraries and having access to queer material that I wasn't seeing necessarily at the stores or was too embarrassed to buy in stores. I think one of the things that we're doing really well at Kodansha as well is having material available at different age ranges as well. So different levels of comfort in different libraries with what's portrayed on the page are represented. Everything from something maybe as soft as like a Scholastic Heartstoppers, which I think is a book that most people are familiar with now, to something that's a more sort of gritty adult take on relationships in the queer community. We've got it all, and there's more coming every day. Yeah, I will also say that although we're talking mostly about physical books today, most of our material is available digitally on Overdrive. So if you are in an area where it's difficult to have these books on the shelves due to, let's say, community concern, these are books that can be available digitally. and a lot of young people are getting digital library cards, and they're going to be back able to access this material without necessarily it showing up in a way that's going to act as a flashpoint or a trigger for parents or gatekeepers. So there's a lot of opportunity here, I think, with the titles that we're publishing in the LGBTQ space.
Absolutely. The third trend we wanted to highlight is reissues of classic manga. So at the other end of the spectrum from the $10.99, $12.99 hardcovers, paperbacks, excuse me, are these beautiful hardcover editions, which Carl has been a huge proponent of. Carl, do you want to walk us through this part?
Hi. So thus far this year, I've done Dark Horse manga presentations at 6 anime cons throughout the United States. And one of the most important reasons for these panels is actually to listen rather than to talk, because this is a chance, of course, to meet the readers and the people who are actually experiencing the books. And I'm learning a lot about people's diverse viewpoints towards manga. So the inexpensive paperback tankobon, which began at the beginning of the century being sold for $9.99 and now often costs a bit more, we're all familiar with it, and it played a tremendous role in popularizing manga as a format in the United States. However, there is a flip side to it, and this is in the diverse readership. So many comics fans, apparently, that is, people who read American comic books regularly, have been reluctant to get into manga. Not because of stories necessarily, not because of art styles necessarily, but because of format. Dark Horse, of course, is Dark Horse Comics, and we publish a great many American comics. And those of you who have American comics graphic novels in your collections and holdings will know that, generally speaking, American comics don't shrink down the size of the art when they do a graphic novel. It's the same size as the original comic book. And it's generally printed on slicker, higher quality paper, and not the rougher paper you see on manga. Now, what happens, however, when we do a deluxe edition, suddenly this is a manga at the same size as an American comic book. It's a presentation of a high-end American graphic novel. The paper quality is high-end. So suddenly people who were reluctant to get into manga for no other reason than format are getting into manga, and they're discovering that they like it. So I always feel that we have to find reasons for more people to read, more people to discover these things. And sometimes it's not the story, and sometimes it's not the art. It can also be format. It can also be presentation. So if we offer more ways and more entry points, it helps to deal with our long-term challenge, which is always to get more people into this incredibly diverse and exciting field. North America is such a huge readership. I have to believe that there are many more people we can reach who would like manga who aren't reading it yet. So this is just one way to do it.
Absolutely. And like you said, the flip side of bringing in young readers is also keeping people reading manga or getting adults into manga.
Yes, exactly.
And I think we've had a lot more success in the past couple of years keeping people reading manga out of their teenage years into their 20s and even, their ancient 30s or whatever.
Exactly.
But, we've seen stuff like Otakoi and stuff like Princess Jellyfish, series that focus on 20-something characters, actual adults, for heaven's sake, finally find readership, which we had been having trouble with before. The other concern,
I want to see diversity of age as well as other kinds of diversity.
Absolutely. The other aspect of this is just shelf space, and we know that's a big concern for all of you, getting some of these series on shelves in fewer books and taking up less space. Kodansha, I just want to call out a few of the omnibus editions that Kodansha has been publishing lately, reissues, and show you a few upcoming ones. The big one on this slide, of course, being Initial D, which is getting a brand new translation and lettering, brand new edition next year. That's the classic manga that directly inspired Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift and became a racing manga legend. So all the fans of that are very, very excited that that is coming back. That's one to keep an eye on. Heading into, we're going to just talk about some upcoming titles now and let you know what we've got coming up from Dark Horse and Kodansha. We're going to go through these really, really fast. But Carl, do you want to get us started with one of my faves?
Okay, Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. This is the manga that inspired the anime show of the same name. New York Times picked as one of the best TV shows of 2020, putting on the same list as Better Call Saul. So it's about a group of young women. They're attending a mysterious high school called Shibahama High. There's already an anime club on campus, but they don't want to just watch anime, they want to make it. So this manga expresses visually their creative and world-building ideas. They talk them out and debate them. It's a story about different kinds of personalities who come together and learn to work together to build something. So the anime only adapts the first 3 volumes. The manga is up to volume 8 in Japan, so it's like getting a whole new season of the anime. So Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken is inspired in part by the real school experiences of the manga's creator, Sumito Owada. He had students in his Japanese school of different ethnicities, different colors, different religious backgrounds, all Japanese. So Japan is already a more diverse place than a lot of people realize, and this is a manga that reflects that reality. So that's Eizouken. The Shadow over Innsmouth. This is a direct adaptation of the original 1931 story by H.P. Lovecraft. It's about a young college student who's taking a trip through some historical sites in New England. When he's in Newburyport, he finds out there's apparently this isolated fishing town on the North Shore called Innsmouth. It has a bad reputation. Nobody goes there if they can help it. This is a horror story, so of course he goes straight there and finds out more about his own history than he bargained for. This manga is drawn and adapted by Go Tanabe, whose last Lovecraft adaptation, At the Mountains of Madness, was nominated for both of the comics industry's top awards, the Eisner and the Harvey. People who are fans of Junji Ito and would like to check out more great manga horror, this is a title for them. As a matter of fact, Junji Ito has said the reason he doesn't adapt H.P. Lovecraft is he thinks that he wouldn't do as good a job of it as Go Tanabe does. Innocent, it's based on a true story that's fairly well known in France. It's the legendary Sanson family, who for generations were the official executioners of both the French royal and later the Republican governments. Our protagonist, Charles-Henri Sanson, he was literally the man on the edge of 2 eras. He carried out executions for King Louis XVI, but in 1793, he was the same man who cut off Louis XVI's head. This is an epic story drawn in a beautiful, baroque, and passionate way. It's depicting all the contradictions of a time when scientific enlightenment and medieval privilege walked hand in hand. It was a 9-volume series in Japan. Dark Horse is collecting it in 3 omnibus volumes. It's written and drawn by Shinichi Sakamoto, and I believe we are the first publisher to announce his creator's works in English. When I first saw Innocent, all I could think was, why did it take so long to publish Sakamoto? So I'm very happy that we're doing it.
Thanks a lot, Carl. I think up next is Andrew.
And I want to tell you all about Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. So I think many of you are familiar with this property already, and I can tell you that many of the kids who come to your library are familiar with this property already. And that's really the big thing that you need to know here. There are a bunch of entry points here. First of all, it's a magical girl, like superheroic adventure story set in Paris. Who doesn't want that? But also people are watching it streaming on Disney. And that's a big hook. We know that drives circulation of manga. It's also legit a kid's title. And I think that, we all want there to be more manga for kids, built for kids, to have in our collections. We know kids are hungry for it, and therefore we're hungry for it. Well, here it is. This is out right now. The next one's coming, I think, in the spring, volume 2. Maybe even
It's coming this fall.
There you go. Great.
The only thing I'll mention here is that this is actually taking off hugely at, of all places, Walmart. We have sold through 3,500 copies of this manga in the past 3 weeks at Walmart stores across the country. So there's a lot of hunger for this among the target demo.
So get in on the ground floor. Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen. I'm sure so many of you have Witch Hat Atelier, the main series, in your collections already. It's a great series. It's beautifully drawn. It has a really, really wide appeal already. This has that built-in audience for you. So you can start the spin-off series, but also it's food manga. Food manga is a growing category. There's more and more interest. And this has real recipes that you can go and make. You can make the croquettes. You can, so again, this is a series with multiple entry points. I think it's going to be a hit for your installed fan base of Witch Hat Atelier already, but you can have that extra hook for people who are foodies, manga foodies.
I will mention the rating on here should be teen 13 plus.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's a recipe that has rum in it. We're trying to be really careful about that. So there's like a cocktail in it at the very, very end that we offer a non-alcoholic version of. We're trying to be very conscientious about that kind of thing. But aside from that part, is very much an all ages manga.
And the Darwin incident, this is coming in a week and a half. It's going to be landing. So this is about a teen who is a chimpanzee human who was created in a lab, and who is on the run. So it's sort of a wacky premise. It's got an adventure feel to it, but it also has questions about the ethics of veganism or how we relate to animals as a species. These kinds of bigger questions alongside the sort of wacky romp premise. I think it's going to have a really big appeal. It's for older teens, and honestly, I think adults are also going to love it. And there's sort of a built-in metaphor there of sort of the teenager as wild animal that I think is going to be a hook for a lot of people. Also, interestingly, it's a manga set in America, which is a rarity. So I think this has, again, many entry points. There's lots of ways to talk about this with your readers and your patrons. So check out the Darwin Incident.
Yeah, this has won a ton of awards, and it's not just set in America. It's like a very accurate and detailed depiction of America. I think this is a perfect book club manga, Andrew. I think you're absolutely right. Up next, Vanessa, and I'm going to ask you to keep it real fast.
Don't worry, key points only. So I'll be talking to you about 3 titles. The first one here is Ogami-san Can't Keep It In. This is actually kind of in the part of the broad high school category that a lot of manga tend to depict. I think the key factor for this one is the boy pictured on the cover. He has this weird physical quirk that when you touch him, the person touching him speaks their true thoughts accidentally, like they have no control over it. And unfortunately, the girl on the cover has a really kind of dirty mind, as like, high schoolers do. So a lot of things just come spilling out of her mouth. And it's a really cute, like awkward love story, coming of age story. And I think not only people going through puberty will enjoy it, but I think people who have already gone through it and want to remember those cringy moments will just feel that nostalgia immediately.
Those moments we would rather forget.
Yes, exactly. And continuing on that nostalgia train, the next title is My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku. For people who may have been into anime in its early days in the 90s, you'll notice a lot of big references in this title. This is really reaching out to people who got into anime and manga when it was really small and is now exploding. And they'll feel a lot of attachment to characters that they used to know and love. And also this really just adorable love story that, is like kind of a flashback from a future point of view. So. And then finally, tying the knot with an Amagami sister. As you can see, we have a lot of cute girls on the cover. This is another big genre in manga, where basically we have our male protagonist, a bunch of cute girls. What's going to happen? No one knows. And that's kind of part of the appeal, is kind of finding a girl you want to root for. And the added appeal here is that it's set in a traditional Japanese shrine. So you're kind of getting that cultural element to it, that I think a lot of manga fans are really interested in learning more about. So thanks, Ben.
Thanks, TJ. Hop in.
Right. Now I'll be speed running through the next 3 titles. So I Can't Say No to the Lonely Girl is a new Yuri series that we'll be coming out with. Yuri readers are just so incredibly passionate about seeing more series get localized in English, and this is a great addition to our Yuri catalog. It is about a kind of a shy girl in high school whose teacher asks her to try to get a delinquent student to start kind of coming back to class, and the hijinks that ensue as the two of them become closer together. So if you're also a fan of shoujo manga or josei manga and the typical romance tropes that you see in that, that is a delight that you'll see aplenty in this series as well. So The Summer with You, the sequel. So My Summer with You has been a incredibly sweet BL series. It's actually Kodansha's second highest selling romance manga series, about 2 boys, Chiharu and Wataru, who start off as friends over their shared love of movies, and how their relationship changes from becoming friends to becoming boyfriends. And this is kind of their 3rd summer together now that they are in college and they're both turning 20. So it's an incredibly sweet romance series. And although it is a sequel, It is another series that can kind of be picked up very easily and, dive right in. So this will definitely appeal to folks who have read the previous volumes in this series, but it can also stand alone on its own as well. And Medalist, I am so incredibly excited about this title. This is actually done very well in digital, and we're very excited to see it coming out in print. It is about an older 20-something figure skater who he retires from figure skating, but he finds himself getting back into figure skating by way of becoming a coach. And he sees potential in this young girl. So it's about how the story of how not only he revitalizes his love for the sport by becoming her coach, but how she also comes into her own, honing her skills as a figure skater and how she gets into it. So this is a perfect all ages manga, that appears to readers young and old alike. Whether you're a fan of figure skating or whether you just love seeing folks be passionate about, what they want to pursue and achieve. This is such an incredibly sweet, inspiring manga. It's another one I'm really looking forward to.
I'm really looking forward to getting this one out in print as well. And just something I want to call out about this title. It's pretty subtle. It's not called out specifically. There's definitely no diagnosis or anything like that. But the main female character, she does seem to have some sort of she has a lot of trouble in school and may have some sort of learning difference. And so I think that's a really interesting element of the story, is that she only really feels that she's found her joy on the ice. And it's about her and this coach she meets, her building a place for her to feel joy and come into her own and value her accomplishments. And I think that's a really special part of the story.
Deb said the art was awesome on that one. And the art's awesome on Nina and the Starry Bride as well. This is a shoujo fantasy romance series that your fans of shoujo manga are going to love. Your fantasy fans are going to love. If you've got Yona of the Dawn, Snow with the Red Hair, Ancient Magus' Bride in the Library already, this is perfect for them. The artwork is gorgeous. And this was another one that did so well for us in digital that we just had to put it into print. So you can look for that in October. It's sort of an older teen shoujo romance due to some intense situations, but nothing too worrisome, I would say, for most collections. Next up, this one is worrisome for most collections. We're going to put this firmly in the S.E. Heaton Outsiders, Charles Burns Black Hole, and the darkest possible moments in The Breakfast Club with no happiness at the ending. This is what we like to call an adult literary manga about people in their teens. And the right teens are going to find it and see themselves reflected in it, and it's going to be huge. River's Edge, Kyoko Okazaki, it's a tremendously powerful, important, and disturbing, honestly, book, but really, really good. We don't often put a lot of stuff forward that we would say this is literature. This is literature. River's Edge. But put it in your adult collection. The kids will find it if they need to. Finally, Magic Knight Rayearth is one of the OG Magical Girl manga. If you've got Sailor Moon in your library, you should have this one as well. Fans of She-Ra, Miraculous, and Sailor Moon, yeah, absolutely. And this actually features the sort of refreshed translation and sound effects that we did for the 25th anniversary, big hardcover box. But now it's in softcover, so it's a little bit more affordable, put in your libraries. And yeah, I love Magic Knight Rayearth going all the way back to the 90s. It was funny, Magic Knight Rayearth was on the cover of the 90s otaku manga that we were looking at earlier. So yeah, this is a really important series. I'm glad that we have it back in print.
Yeah, if you were to ask me who I think the most underrated mangaka of major significance is in the US, I would answer Kyoko Okazaki probably. So seconding everything Christopher said about River's Edge. If anyone read Helter Skelter or Pink, I mean, they're amazing works. So we're already over time, but if there are any additional questions, we would love to answer them. This is really an all-star crew of, probably dozens of years of combined manga experience on here. And thanks, Deb Aoki, for the assist in the chat and finding the age rating. Are the age ratings on the back covers adjusted to US audiences? Yes, Joanna, the age ratings on the backs of our books are created for US audiences by many of the people on this call. Manga does not get age ratings when it's released in Japan unless it is explicitly pornographic. So we are doing the best we can to sometimes fit a round peg into a square hole and come up with a good age rating. it's a difficult process and it's not perfect. But that's why we want to do our best to offer you all the information you need to find a place for these books in your collection. And if anybody is interested in getting additional resources, please feel free to email Christopher and Andrew. Do you want to give your...
Yeah, we've got, we're libraries at kodanshausa.com. And I'll pop it in the chat real quick, but we actually also just started up a librarian web page on the Kodansha site that should hopefully be linked very soon. From we're just putting it together now, actually, as we speak. So, but yeah, we are going to be available to answer your questions about these kinds of books, about manga in school and public libraries. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Join our newsletter. We're going to be starting a newsletter any moment now. There we go. That's our page right there in the chat, kodansha.us/librarians. Andrew, anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. But we really do mean it. Please reach out, and your question can be like, how gory is this? Or whatever you need to know to see if it fits into your selection parameters. Like, I want to hear these questions, and I will get back to you with answers as helpfully as I possibly can. So please, 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 just be in touch for anything.
Yeah, we know everyone is walking a tightrope these days. We're trying to take into account violence, themes, sexual content, all of these things when coming up with our age ratings. But if there's any additional specifics you need, don't hesitate to reach out. And Gloriana, I think in the chat farther up, said that they were trying to start a manga club. And if anyone out there is trying to do that or needs help investing in the category, do not, again, another great reason to get in touch with us. You can get in touch with Kelly's team, and they'll also hook you up with the folks at the other manga publishers that PRHPS represents. Carl, do you want to add anything here for the Dark Horse side?
No, other than that, I've spoken to a number of manga clubs and in manga presentations at libraries in the Portland, Oregon area, and that's something I always like to do. My very first job out of college was being a librarian. And so from personal experience, I've seen of how important libraries are, to manga and graphic novel, the reader expansion, and just the accessibility, which really wasn't there when I was a kid. Librarians have just done such a wonderful job to make this culture available to everybody. And I always thought that more important than people reading is people enjoying reading. It's more important, I think, for people to think of reading as something they enjoy. Unfortunately, sometimes reading is taught as a chore or something for an assignment or something to pass a test. And therefore, people don't associate reading with personal pleasure, with personal enjoyment. But if people find something they enjoy reading, in some cases that may be a manga and it may be a graphic novel, then they have the habit of getting into reading itself, and then they'll read on their own and discover so many other things. And so that's, I think, one of the most important things about manga and graphic novels, simply the fact that they are such great reading experiences and open people to the joy of reading, which is, I think, is fundamental.
See, I knew you would put the perfect tag on this. Thank you so much to all of the panelists for joining, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. As I said, we'll be making this presentation available as a PDF if you want to go back and review. And I've posted my email address in the chat. We've posted the library's address in the chat. Don't hesitate to reach out anytime, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you all so much for that wonderful panel. And yes, we like to remind everybody that they don't have to write everything down as they're saying it. All of their contact information, the sign up for the Kodansha newsletter, the library page, we'll put all that in the wrap-up report so you don't have to remember anything, because it's hard to remember things and enjoy things at the same time. So we will send all this information to you. And also, in general, if you have any questions, you can just email us at library@penguinrandomhouse.com.